Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the couple's tell-all. Let's watch.
God, I know.
You know, like...
Either. As Mike's got such a good heart, and I worry for him.
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
The fact that he's supporting her, and the fact that she wouldn't let him say goodbye to those kids. I was so mad at her. I was like shaking.
Yeah, I feel like he really loves her.
Interesting. I think they have a minority take on, meaning not a common take on the Mike and Ximena, at least, I don't know if it's a minority take, but they feel bad for Mike, which I think is actually a minority take in that I think a lot of people hate Mike at this point. I have compassion for Mike, for sure. I have a lot of compassion for Ximena as well. Having compassion for one doesn't negate having compassion for the other. But often is the case that we will do that. That when we're seeing two people fighting, we'll be triangulated in, and as a way of relieving our anxiety, we will side with one side and convince our, because it's hard to be in the middle. It's hard to see nuance. It's hard to see like, well, maybe they are misunderstanding each other. And so as being triangulated in, as we all were watching Mike and Ximena, for Gino and for Kim, they are siding with Mike, which is good. I mean, it's not good, but it's good that they can have compassion for him. But then we're also hearing from Kim that she's upset at Ximena for depending on Mike for money. And I'm thinking, did you see the entire run? Because the thing that we have to remember is the tell-all would be filmed before the end of the show is aired. Maybe they saw the whole show behind the scenes, but there was some information just last week in the wrap-up episode before the first part of the tell-all that it was more emphasis. At least I don't remember really having that sense that for Ximena and their family and her family, that the money from Mike helped all of them to eat and not lose their home. Without that emphasis on how important the money was, you could imagine being a viewer and saying like, Ximena is just purely scamming, even though she could easily work for money and that sort of thing. But what we heard was that Ximena had a job, but the pandemic stripped that job away, and that maybe other people in the household also lost their jobs because of the pandemic, and everything was going down the tubes, not because they weren't willing to work, but because of the situation. She does cam modeling. It's maybe getting a little bit of money, but then Mike comes along and provides a lot of money. So, you know, I don't think anyone would blame Ximena for doing that, especially if, which I believe to be true, she legitimately had feelings or had hopes of developing feelings for Mike.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I'm really not looking forward to seeing Ximena. I didn't like the way stuff played out with her. Nobody should support you. You're grown. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Nobody should support you. You're grown. I don't know why I'm always giving Kim the benefit of the doubt, because I want to say, well, maybe she didn't see the last couple episodes. What is it about me in that? I mean, I keep doing that to Kim, you know, when she was being super cringy in her pressuring of Usman. I would sometimes caveat by saying, well, maybe she'll see this and regret it. We have seen no indication of that at the tell-all. Maybe it happened. Maybe she does regret it, but we've seen no indication of that.
Well, everybody needs a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like a really strong
I needed one
one.
too. You
I
know?
thought he got one, like a couple times, and the wake-up call didn't wake him up. So maybe today.
The pot calling the kettle black. There's a lot of that today.
Yeah, there is a lot of that today, Kim. But yeah, the obvious one is what she's referring to is Ben is saying Mike should have seen the signs that things weren't working out and didn't respond to those signs. Of course, a lot of people would look at Ben, and including myself, and say like, hey, but having said that, Ben and Mahogany are back together, so maybe it was all, I don't know.
Mike, can I weigh in a little bit?
Yeah.
Make sure that you're being treated right,
Yes.
because you're
That's
a good
all
man.
I care about.
You're supporting somebody for a whole year, and then you say you're not in love with them. You're like, bitch, why am I sending you money? Let me tell you, there's tons of women in San Diego that ask me about you. You just call me.
I wonder if they haven't seen the last few episodes, because of course we would imagine that they didn't record this tell-all right after the second to last episode, right? So maybe they didn't see the episodes where Mike was refusing to leave the house and presenting more concerning behaviors. Either way, though, to make the statement that I've been sending you money, so you better be in a relationship with me, is I mean, that's not exactly what Kim was saying, but it's in that direction, is a pretty interesting statement.
Estupidez, por Dios.
Tú estúpida.
¿Me dijo estúpida? ¡Ay!
Tú,
¡Te vas ahora! ¡No más!
No.
Me harté, parce.
Wow.
It's interesting to see their edit that they show the cast members, that it left out the part of Mike being what I'm going to call abusive, in that he refused to leave the house when, over multiple times where she was saying nicely to leave. And because up until this point, a lot of the other cast members have been siding with Mike and very much against Ximena, and it just makes me wonder if producers are behind the scenes trying to create that kind of direction. Maybe because I don't know. This is all just me making stuff up. I mean, we all understand the producers and the show makers are absolutely influential on what is shown and also feeding the cast members information. I think that's clear from me. Anyway, I don't know exactly what's happening, but I wonder, and again, just sort of speculating upon speculation, I wonder if they thought, well, if we just let things take their course, then Mike's going to be a jerk face and Ximena is going to come off looking good. And that's a boring tell-all because there's no conflict. Everyone just agrees that Mike is a bad person. So we need to trump up the other side somehow so that there could be some kind of situation. But maybe they overcorrected and disconnected the cast members, or they fed the cast members a bunch of spin, and that gives us as an audience an opportunity to hate the cast members for not recognizing what Mike did. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point.
That was hard to watch.
Yeah. Mike, how did you feel about the way Ximena abruptly broke up with you?
I felt really bad. But I did say some bad things that I wish I'd never said. And I meant to say I'm stupid. I didn't mean to call her stupid.
Yeah.
What? So at first, he's saying, I shouldn't have said those things. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, good. And then he claims that it was a mistake, that he meant to say, I'm stupid, not you're stupid. That doesn't sound believable. I mean, from my interpretation of what happened was she said, you're being stupid. And then he thought she was saying, you're stupid. And then he said, no, you're stupid. And apparently in Colombia, people were commenting below that, although that's never a nice thing to say, in Colombia, it's particularly a harsh insult. And either way, Ximena gets upset, walks away, and then later I think the sister tells Mike, she wasn't saying you were stupid, she was saying you're acting stupid, or that she was being stupid or something. And then he feels bad about it, but now he's claiming from the beginning he was saying that he was stupid. So let's work that through. She says something about estupido, I think, and then he's like, I'm so stupid. Let's rewind that, actually, watch that little clip to see it, 'cause maybe we can be convinced.
Vete. Ya no más. Estupidez, por Dios.
Tú estúpida.
Yeah, to estupido. I have a hard time thinking that he was trying to say, I am stupid. He hears her say stupid, and so his claim is, in that moment, as she's saying something about stupid, he was trying to say, I'm stupid. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I don't know.
But I did say some bad things that I wish I'd never said. And I meant to say I'm stupid. I didn't mean to call her stupid.
Yeah, that really set her off.
Yeah.
You guys had a terrible breakup. But now you are back together
Yes.
as a couple.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. We saw that during the first tell-all, that they're back together. So I was wondering, maybe we'll find out, has Ximena's attraction to him or affection for him re-sparked, or did it temporarily go away? Or is she trying to get money out of him? Let's see what happens.
Is Mike your boyfriend? Are you back together?
Vea, yo ahorita que estemos en Cartagena, pues voy a ver qué es lo que me haya cambiado y seguiremos juntos hasta que nos casemos. O sea, espero que él haya cambiado sus cosas malas y que él me diga lo que yo debo de cambiar, porque yo no voy a decir que yo soy perfecta porque no lo es así.
Okay, so she's saying they plan on getting married and that she is trying to see if he's changed. And okay, so we're kind of back in that zone. I'm surprised because it seemed as though Ximena on that second visit had no affection for him and had realized that. So it was reinvigorated. How did that happen? Especially after that huge conflict, but I guess we'll find out.
I believe Ximena has been very bitchy toward Mike. The way she has treated him, I have the impression that whatever reason she is with him is not love.
It's possible. It doesn't seem likely. It seemed as though, and I've been saying this for a while, I won't reiterate it completely, but who knows? But I think the hypothesis I have is that she at first considered him a customer, and then when he started offering money, she was thinking, well, that could be a big deal to our family. And then over maybe a span of time, she starts to feel like, well, maybe it could work with Mike. He's a nice person, and it could really be a good thing. He's not like the other guys that I've dated, seemingly. So maybe this could work. And then that kind of grows. Her family is there kind of convincing her, pressuring her to some degree, either just subtly or outright. She, of course, is worried about her two sons and maybe even worried about dependence on her previous partners who she, according to her, are scary, violent individuals. And so she's like, well, there's a lot of good could happen if I can make it work with Mike. Mike comes down. She is not super into it. Some of the things he's doing that would, maybe annoy anyone are particularly annoying because perhaps there's a big part of her that just isn't attracted to him and doesn't want to be with him, perhaps even repulsed by him. But then another part of her that warms up to him and legitimately starts to think, okay, well, he's good with the kids and I can see myself being with him. I'm attracted to him at times, and we get engaged and everything's great. And then he leaves, and then all that affection just goes out the window. Suddenly he's back and get away from me. And then she realized, okay, I just got to break up with him. So she does. And, but of course, people tend to see these things as black and white. And it's possible that she never loved him and was scamming him the entire time. But like I said before, I don't like to believe that about these people. It's just a bias I have. I, of course, have no idea. All these people could be scamming everyone. But unless I see strong evidence for that, I want to believe that people aren't doing that. I don't want to live in a world where people would do that kind of thing. So I guess I should just say that. I also, I guess, should say that in light of that bias, my worldview is that people are good. People are trying to do good. And of course, there are people out there doing evil. And I've worked with clients like that. And of course, I've studied people like that. But generally speaking, people are trying to do good, that they have a heart, and that people will do bad things, but give people enough time and they'll come around. Maybe for Ximena, there was a part of her that was maybe kind of scamming, but then eventually thought, I can't do this to someone else anymore. As evidenced by the fact she said, I'll give you all the possessions back. I'll give you all the money back. Here's the rings, all that kind of stuff. So, and I feel like some people tend to look at other human beings with a lot of suspicion. And as a person who actually has contact with humans and as a therapist and really hearing their true selves, I am here to tell you that behind people that can come across as jerk faces or cold, they're human beings, and they're suffering and trying and have a lot of heart. Sometimes it's hard for them to exhibit that or connect with that, but they, the love is there for other humans. So that's another part of my bias.
No lo amo, él lo sabe.
Exacto.
Al comienzo de la relación, yo sentía que sí lo amaba cuando fue el primer viaje. Pero entonces, ya después, no sé.
Right. Now, she could be lying, but that's consistent with my leading hypothesis that she did have feelings for him the first time, but then later she didn't feel that feeling anymore.
Mis sentimientos cambiaron totalmente.
Pero si tú sientes que tú no lo amas, ¿qué te hace pensar que esta vez sí va a funcionar?
Pues él dice que ha cambiado unas cosas y si la relación va a seguir, pues para adelante, y si no, pues se acaba todo en Cartagena.
All right, so Jasmine asks a good question. She's saying, well, if your feelings had gone, why do you think it's going to work this time? And she says, well, I am holding out that he'll change. That's a tough one to feel good about, because it didn't seem like it was his behavior that, now we don't know, maybe behind the scenes there were all sorts of things, but those little things that she said, maybe there's something else more significant that we're not hearing about. I think there were some rumors that he was highly volatile, even off camera. Maybe that's what she's thinking of, but it seemed pretty clear, but who knows? But it seemed pretty clear that she did not have any kind of romantic feelings for him at all, and really had the opposite, which is repulsion. So it's hard to imagine that turning around, and it doesn't seem advisable to anyone to go down that road, because it just seems like there's a huge possibility that repulsion will emerge again. But I don't know.
Entonces,
Mike, she's been honest to you, and she has said it that she doesn't love you. She just said that to me. She's not in love with you.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I don't have any words right now.
Jasmine is telling Mike, she just told me in Spanish that she doesn't love you. I mean, that's one aspect of what Ximena was saying. What Ximena was saying was, I think I'm optimistic, or I want to see if I might fall in love with him again. He says he's going to change. We're going to see each other in Colombia soon. So I wouldn't say the summary is, she just told me how much she doesn't love you. But anyway, so Mike is hurt by that. And I would hope that Mike would know in this moment that she doesn't, I thought he knew that. I thought he knew she wasn't in love. Now, I guess Ximena could have led him on, but I don't think she would. And of course, I guess it makes sense that maybe they avoided the topic, or Mike avoided the realization that Ximena doesn't love him anymore. So, I don't know, this is a bit confusing.
no te pongas así, por favor. Tú sabes que yo te quiero mucho, pero te necesito tiempo.
Time for what?
All right, so then she says, don't be like that. I love you very much. It's just going to take some time. Okay, if we're to be on Ximena's side, really both of their sides, but temporarily on Ximena's side, that when she is saying, I'm not in love with you, but I want to be one day, but I do love you and I do care about you. So maybe that's what she's saying.
He's paying all of her bills. What does he need to... What do you need time for? He's been there already. He's proved to you what a good person he is. To your children, he supports you. What more can you want?
I think it's pretty clear that Ximena doesn't know if she has romantic feelings or is sexually attracted to him. I mean, is that a big mystery? So Kim is saying he's giving you money. What more can you want? Kim has said that before, which is, if you just take it for face value, is a very interesting thing to say. And when we think about Kim and Usman, of course, Kim isn't giving Usman money, right? But did show up with expensive gifts and seemed to, really did have a lot of entitlement about, you will have sex with me. I mean, that's a harsh way of putting it, but it certainly looked that way. And at the time, like I said, with Kim, I thought she would later cringe and say, oh, that's not how I think. We have seen no evidence that she has reflected on that past behavior and regretted it. So when she looks at Ximena, she applies the same thinking. And then, of course, we have to talk about American imperialism and racism and sexism, maybe. And yeah, like, Ximena can't have some confusing feelings about Mike, even though Mike has helped her. Like, you can have all those things. Mike could give her money, and she could have some feelings for him, but also not be quite sure. I mean, all those things can happen. I guess it's also possible that she's been lying from the beginning, but it doesn't seem that way to me.
I mean, this is a good dude. And my heart is breaking for him right now.
Yes.
Es que nadie entiende. O sea, tenerlo ahí enfrente con sus formas de hacer, de actuar, a lo brusco, a lo grosero, o sea.
Pero Ximena, usted también fue grosera con él.
I just wonder if they've seen that full episode where Mike was being aggressive with his language, refusing to leave. Ximena is saying, it's just hard, to know if this is going to work given the way he behaved that one night, which is a very healthy thing to say. I wonder if the cast feels bad for Mike, which is fine, and they have a hard time feeling bad for Mike, but also not villainizing Ximena, which a lot of, I find, people watching this show will do, is, and I'll even see people vacillate. They'll say, well, like with Caleb and Alina, I hear people saying, well, the beginning of the season, I hated Caleb. And I was like, yay, Alina. And then when they met up, and then we saw Alina and the friend, what was his name? I was like, oh, Caleb's great, and Alina is a jerkface. Like, we can have positive, or at least compassion for both people, even when they're in conflict. So we can have compassion for Mike. We can care about him. We can say, oh, that's rough. We do not, I don't think anyone thinks that Mike's life has been going well when it comes to relationships, and probably won't continue to go well. And he has a lot of sadness, a lot of hurt about that. We can also have compassion for Ximena and the position that she's put in regarding poverty and loss of jobs, and the fact that her whole family depends on her and all that kind of stuff, and what she's been through, and that she did probably have feelings for Mike at one point and now doesn't, but is also like, well, maybe I'm passing up a good thing. Like, all those things can be true, and we can have compassion for all of them. We can understand where all of them are coming from, and also recognize that the situation is causing a lot of pain, particularly for Mike.
Ximena, do you understand that a relationship is two ways? Because in the show, you're asking Mike to change all of this stuff about him, and yet here you are, after he's worked so hard, really giving it like 110%, and all you can say is, I still don't love you.
I really just don't understand this attack on Ximena. I mean, at the very least, you would think that they would understand that it's possible that when someone likes you and they're really trying to get with you, that you just might not like them back. Is that a revolutionary idea? Or when they're trying to please you and they're giving you a lot of money, and at some point you're like, yeah, I don't know if I like you. Is that like a foreign idea?
أرى مايك شخص طيب قلبه طيب. أرى ريلاسيون هذه من طرف واحد. حب مايك حقيقي تمشي الفندق واللي يحب معناها بصدق ما يجرحش حبيبه.
Yeah, Hamza has the most balanced, or at least the statement that I can agree with, that it looks like Mike's in love with her and she's not in love with him, and it's hard to have optimism about the relationship. Absolutely.
Well, it seems like Mike still wants to be in the relationship. He still loves her.
That's the problem. That's the problem. You've been taking care of this lady with her kids for some time. Now she's still telling you today that she did love you. You need to just get out from this.
I mean, Ximena is at a serious disadvantage because everyone's speaking English and speaking for her. And I think if she understood what they were saying, she would say, no, that's not what I said.
Financially, and if your answer is yes, like to what extent? How much?
He doesn't even know. He lost
Rent,
count.
food.
Oh. But she has to decide if she loves you or not? That's crazy.
He's basically taking care of her completely. I'm sorry, bro. Sorry about that.
It's possible that Ximena even is trying to convince herself because of the desperation that her family is in. We don't know, but we did hear from her mom that none of the family would have ate during the pandemic if it weren't for Mike, and I believe that. Or at least it would have put them in a really difficult situation. So it's possible that once Mike went back to the States, that reality started to hit it, click in again. Ximena starts to do cam work again, maybe discovers that she doesn't really like that kind of work, and or it doesn't make as much money as it would otherwise. It's also taking time away from her ability to take care of her kids, that kind of thing. And her family is in her ear saying like, yeah, you could give it another try. Mike is probably pestering and saying, let me take care of you. Let me take care of you. Let me give you money. Let me give you money. And we can imagine a scenario where, again, I'm just speculating, that Mike says, look, you don't have to get back together with me, but just let me help you out. Mike thinking like, well, maybe this is my way in because, he's pretty desperate. And Ximena accepts it, and then Ximena starts to say, well, okay, well, I mean, I did have feelings from one time, and my family's on my back, and my kids, and so, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that bad, and you start convincing yourself, and then you become of two minds once again. So it's possible that she's not lying to Mike in that scenario, but she's highly incentivized to kind of brainwash herself. Maybe that's what's happening. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others because we all deserve it. We really, really do.